Good morning, children. Welcome back to your next section of English online class. As I told you in the last video, we have two textbooks for English, one for literature and the other one is for language. In this section, I will teach you the first chapter of New Images. Chapter 1, The Dreamcatcher, written by Roald Dahl. Before introducing author, let me ask you, what is Dreamcatcher? Once upon a time, in the midst of a world lived a group of magical creatures known as the Dreamcatchers. Like, do you ever have the most amazing dream where your deepest wishes are being fulfilled? And when you wake up, you can only remember small bits. Well, that's the work of a dream catcher. So now have a look about author. Roald Dahl was born on 13 September 1960 and he died on 23 November 1990 at the age of 74. He was one of the best children's book writers, an ace fighter pilot, and a chocolate historian. He has a huge fan of chocolates. After every meal, he used to offer chocolates to his friends and family from a little red box. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the BFG, and Matilda are some of his best works on which several films have been made. The Dreamcatcher is an extract taken from the novel The BFG, which was published in 1982. He used to tell the story of the BFG to his kids and even used to pretend to blow happy dreams using a bamboo cane. The BFG is the story about a giant who hunts and captures dreams in a bottle. He blows these dreams into children's ears while they are asleep. The BFG speaks in a Gabelfung language that includes words like akimaki, it means messy, and delicious, which means tasty. The exact word is delicious. He meets Sophie an orphan and saves her from nine other fearsome giants who eat human beings, or rather human beings, as the BFG would have called them. Now let's move to the text. The big friendly giant put the suitcase on the ground. He opened the suitcase and took out several empty glass jars. He set them ready on the ground with their screw tops removed. Then he stood up very straight. His head was now high up in the swirling mist which means a layer of fine droplets, and it kept disappearing, then appearing again. He was holding the long net in his right hand. So, when the story begins, our big friendly giant, shortly we call him BFG, is placing his suitcase on the ground. He took out empty glass jars from the suitcase and removed the tops of jar. We can see BFG holding a long net in his right hand. Look the image given in page number 2. Yes, exactly like that. BFG is holding a long net in his right hand. Why he is holding this net in his hand? Yes, he want to catch the drains. Sophie, staring upwards, saw through the mist that his colossal ears were beginning to swivel out from his head. They began waving gently to and fro. Suddenly, the BFG pounced. He leaped high in the air and swung the net through the mist with a great swishing sweep of his arm. Got him, he cried. A jar, a jar. Kyuk, kyuk, kyuk. Sophie picked up a jar and held it up to him. He grabbed hold of it. He lowered the net. Very carefully, he tipped something absolutely invisible from the net into the jar. He dropped the net and swiftly clapped one hand over the jar. The top, he whispered, the jar top, quick. Sophie picked up and screw top and handed it to him. He screwed it on tight and the jar was closed. The BFG was very excited. He held the jar close to one ear and listened intently. Intently means attentively. It's a wing skiffler, he whispered with a thrill in his voice. Wing skiffler means a wonderful dream. Over here, it means a wonderful dream. It's, it's, it's even better. It's a fizz wizard. It's a golden fizz wizard. Fizz wizard here means a wonderful dream. Same. So, Sophie, she is a little girl and an orphan too. She was watching the deeds of BFG, but she can only see the very large ears of him because he was covered with the mist. So yes, BFG was so excited, he caught a dream. He cried loudly for the jar. Sophie picked up a jar and gave it to him. BFG tipped the dream very carefully into the empty glass jar and closed it. BFG was super thrilled. He was attentively listened to that dream. He was happy because it was a wonderful dream. So BFG caught a golden wonderful dream. He calls those dreams either wing skiffler or fizz wizard. It's a good dream. At this time, our little Sophie was confused about that. The dream was really a good one. BFG cried and said, "It's a good one." He asked Sophie to be silent and keep calm. Sophie stared at him. Oh my, he said, holding the jar in front of him. This will be giving some little tattler a very happy night when I is blowing it in. So tattler means a young child. Is it really a good one? Sophie asked. A good one, he cried. It's a golden fizz wizard. It is not often I is getting one of these. He handed the jar to Sophie and said, "Please be still as a starfish now. I is thinking there may be a whole swarm of fizz wizards up here today. And do kindly stop breathing. You is terribly noisy down there." "I haven't moved a muscle," Sophie said. "Then don't," the BFG answered sharply. Once again he stood up, tall in the mist, holding his net at the ready. Then he came the long silence, the waiting, the listening, and at last, with surprising suddenness, came the leap and swish of the net. Another jar, he cried. Kyuk, kyuk, kyuk. When the second dream was safely in the jar and the top was screwed down, the BFG held it to his ear. Oh no, he cried. Oh mince, my maggots. Oh swipe, my swaggles. What's the matter? Sophie asked. It's a troggle humper, he shouted. His voice was filled with fury and anguish. Troggle humper means nightmare. Anguish means unhappiness. So now, after instructed Sophie to be silent, BFG again went to catch Dream. But this time, BFG caught a troggle humper. It's a nightmare. So his voice changed. It became fury and unhappy. He became so unhappy. Oh, save our souls, he cried. Deliver us from whistles. The devil is dancing on my dibbler. What are you talking about? Sophie said. The BFG was getting more distressed every moment. Oh, bash my eye bones, he cried, waving the jar in the air. I come all this way to get lovely golden dreams, and what is I catching? What are you catching? Sophie said. I is catching a frightsome troggle humper, he cried. This is a bad, bad, bad dream. It is worse than a bad dream. It is a nightmare. Oh dear, Sophie said. What will you do with that? So what happened? Our BFG was supposed to catch good dreams, but accidentally this time he caught a troublemaker or a nightmare. And our little Sophie was completely confused and she was so curious about the dreams and she wants to know what did BFG caught. And he said it's a nightmare. That means it's a very, very, very bad dream. And Sophie asked to this BFG, what will you do with this nightmare? I is never, never letting it go, the BFG cried. If I do, then some little toddler will be having the most curd-blooding time. This one is a real Kixie bog thumper. I is exploding it as soon as I get home. Curd bloodling, it means terrifying. So BFG said to Sophie that I won't let it to be free. If BFG let the nightmare to go, it may disturb the small young children. So he said when he reached his home, he will explode it as soon as it is possible. Nightmares are horrible, Sophie said. I had one once and I woke up sweating all over. With this one, you would be waking up screaming all over, the BFG said. This one would make your teeth stand on end. If this one got into you, your blood would be freezing to iceless and your skin would go creeping across the floor. Is it as bad as that? It's worse, cried the BFG. This is a real whoopsie grub switcher. You said it was a troggle humper, Sophie told him. It is a troggle humper, cried the exasperated BFG. Exasperated means very annoyed. But it is also a bog thumper and a grub switcher. So now our nightmare got total three words. One it is Strogglehumber, the other one it is Bogthumber, the third one is a Grobswitcher. It is all three riddled into one. Oh, I is so glad I is clutching it tight. Huh, you wet bestie you, he cried, holding up the jar and staring into it. Never more is you going to be bunk doodling the poor little human bene tattlers. So what happened? Sophie added her experience when she saw a nightmare. And BFG said her, if I let my Troggle Humber to go, it may create a lot of frightening dreams to the small children. And Sophie asked that, is that so bad? And BFG replied, yes, it's too worse. And this one is the real Grobswitcher. So Sophie again become confused. Who is this Grobswitcher? You said me its name is Trogglehumber. BFG told, all these are same. The three names, one it's Strogglehumber, second it is Bogthumber, and the third one Grobswitcher. Three, it's the name of nightmares. And he was holding it very tightly, never letting it move out. He don't want to disturb, or he don't want to put the poor little children in trouble. Let me ask you one question. What has the BFG caught that is frightening him? Yes, the BFG caught a nightmare. And what is its name? Trogglehumber. Otherwise it is known as Bogthumber. And the other name is Grobswitcher. All these three are one, the same. Sophie, who was also staring into the glass jar, cried out, I can see it. There's something in there. Of course, there is something in there, the BFG said. You is looking at the frightsome Trogglehumber. But you told me dreams were invisible. They is always invisible until they is captured, the BFG told. After that, they is losing a little of their invisibility. We is seeing this one very clearly. Inside the jar, Sophie could see the faint scarlet outline of something that looked like a mixture between a blob of gas and a bubble of jelly. It was moving violently, thrashing against the sides of the jar and forever changing shape. We know the children always keep asking questions. Our little Sophie is very much confused because BFG told her dreams are invisible. But when she looked inside the glass jar, she saw a faint scarlet outline of something that looked like a mixture between a blob of gas and bubble of jelly. It was our Trogglehumber moving violently inside the glass jar. It's wiggling all over the place. Sophie cried, it's fighting to get out. It will bash itself to bits. The nastier the dream, the angrier it is getting when it is in prison, the BFG said. It is the same as with wild animals. If an animal is very fierce and you is putting it in a cage, it will make a tremendous rumble dance. If it is a nice animal like a cockatoodle or a fogel from. Both it means a kind of animal in gabble funk language, which is nice creatures. It will sit quietly. Dreams is exactly the same. This one is a nasty, fierce, bog-rotting nightmare. Just look at him splashing himself against the glass. It's quite frightening, Sophie cried. I would be hating to get this one inside me on a darksome night, the BFG said. So would I, Sophie said. The BFG started putting the bottles back into the suitcase. Is that all? Sophie asked. Are we going? I is so upset by this struggle humping, bog thumping grobs witcher. The BFG said that I is not wishing to go on. Dream catching is finished for today. So Sophie scared that Troggle Humber may bash the jar. BFG told her these kind of nightmares are like wild animals. When we put wild animals in a cage, it will make a lot of noise. If we put nice animals, it will sit quietly. So BFG gave an example of animals so that Sophie could understand about the dreams, the character, the nature of dreams. Sophie was feared. BFG started putting the glass bottles back into the suitcase because he was upset by Troggle humping, bog thumping, grobs witcher. So what is this three are? These three are the nightmares, the worst nightmare. They finished catching dream for the day. Here ends the story. Now, scholars, the summary of the chapter, The Dreamcatcher, is it's written by Roald Dahl, and the BFG is a story about a friendly giant known as the BFG in short, who collects and gives good dreams to children, and an orphan named Sophie. One day they went to catch dreams. BFG was holding a net in his hand to catch dreams. The BFG is excited about the first dream that he catches, as it is a wonderful dream which will give a happy night to a young child. But the next time, unfortunately, BFG caught a Troggle Humber, a nightmare. BFG said that he would never let the Troggle Humber go, for it is a nightmare which will terrify a toddler. And he left to his home with the dreams he caught and Sophie, a little girl. I hope everyone enjoyed the story. Take care of yourself, hoping we should all go about our lives as normal. Thank you.